this could all just be a big, hey, let's drum up an extra 1% to 2% vote, get these crypto nerds involved, make them feel important. We'll toss it around Congress for a bit, think about it for 4 years, eventually turn it off. Too late. We already got their vote. Bunch of idiots. So
yeah,
there is that chance that they're just drumming up votes, and this is all bullshit.
Welcome back to Token Narratives with Bitcoin.com, where we discuss the biggest stories shaping the Bitcoin and cryptoverse. I'm Graham, a cog in the marketing machine at Bitcoin.com, and your loyal host for this show. With us, as usual, we have David, the Bitcoin.com news maven and professional seeker of truth in the Twitter realm. FYI, that's a shout out, David, to your ability to find the juiciest tidbits from the darkest corners of crypto Twitter. We also have Corbin, head honcho at Bitcoin.com and connoisseur of racist dog whistle schizo videos.
Big fan.
Gentlemen, the clown world is spinning faster, and there's a lot of news in the crypto world these days, so I'm excited for our discussion this week. But before we get into it, Airdrop.
Say
airdrop,
what?
Gentlemen. Airdrop. There's an airdrop happening, the Verse airdrop. It's live right now. If you head over to airdrop.verse.bitcoin.com, you can connect your wallet and check eligibility. Who's eligible for this airdrop?
I think the common denominator is, were you in the Bitcoin.com wallet? Did you already have the BCom wallet installed, set up? Did you have Ethereum? I think this is I guess it's worth mentioning, this is the first of many potential airdrops. So we are kind of internally calling this like season 1 airdrop. It's going to be on Ethereum, and it's targeting primarily Bitcoin.com wallet users within the Ethereum chain who participated within the Bitcoin.com ecosystem or within the Verse ecosystem. So if you had a Bitcoin.com wallet prior to a certain date, and if you had some Ethereum in there, and if you participated in, buy, sell, swap, Verse DEX, LP staking, you may have earned a little bit of additional Verse that you can go claim. And you can access that from the Verse Explorer on the home screen of your app. You'll probably get some notifications about it in the upcoming days regarding it. You've got about 30 days to claim it before the airdrop claimer contract is clawed back. So there is a time frame to actually participate in this. And those who do not participate in time just lose out. So got to be hanging out with us, be a part of the gang, claim, and then you can use any of that Verse that you've claimed to activate into some staking to earn some passive yield. You can put it into LP to support some of our DEX pools. You can then deploy that LP into farms to, again, earn more tokens. You can also spend the Verse over on our Scratch and Win NFT tickets, where they're provably fair, powered by Chainlink. Or you can also purchase an NFT, re-roll an NFT using them. You can play some clicker games. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can kind of see outlined in the airdrop DApp to kind of walk you through joining the ecosystem, hanging out on our Discord and Telegram, and being a part of the gang. We're us Gomers. We're all hanging out in our Discord and our Telegram. So if you verify that you're holding a certain amount of Verse, you can kind of join some of these private chats where we hang out and talk and discuss and commiserate when it's bearish and celebrate when it's bullish. So
yeah. Thanks, Corbin. All right, moving on. Let's do our market gut check for the week. How are you guys feeling? I'll start. To be honest, I'm nervous. I have,
Really?
I have existential dread. So last night after listening to some bullish take on a podcast, I did buy the dip on Bitcoin and Sol. I will admit I had a drink. But anyway, my dry powder is running out, and I'm worried that it's over. Because obviously we are. It's a dip. I don't know. Is it over? So I'm hoping our discussion today will raise my convictions and quell my dread. How are you guys feeling about the market?
I'm feeling good. Still good. Obviously, the dip is better for it to go up than to go down. But I also listened to some podcasts this past week, and some people I follow on Twitter online, and it everything seems to be kind of going reasonably well. And I don't think there are any indications that really should be worrying in the medium to long term, especially medium term. So
Yeah.
I'm also buying the dip, and I am also running out of dry powder there. But yeah, I still think everything looks pretty good.
Yeah. Why dip? Is this the Kamala trade? Is this the market saying like, okay, we thought Trump was a shoo-in, but Biden's out. The Democrats' electoral machine is cranking out it's in full gear, and now
It really
it doesn't look so clear that Trump is going to win. So the crypto markets have got the jitters. Is that what's happening here?
I don't
Or is
think
it just
so.
whatever? It's just a little.
I think
it's just a dip.
there was some Bitcoin selling. I think I heard chatter that there was Bitcoin selling both from some of the Gox stuff, and also maybe some rotation from the spot Bitcoin ETFs to the ETH ETFs. Also, there was like, it looked like there was ETH outflows, but that's to be expected because of the grayscale trust outflows. So again, I feel like you kind of want to wait for the grayscale ETH outflows to taper off, and then you'll just probably get only bullish news, because it'll just be inflows, and it won't be complicated or anything like that. Yeah. Because people see the headlines, it says, "Oh, outflows, net outflows, blah blah."
Yeah,
blah,
net
blah, blah.
outflows, 483 million so far. $500 million of net outflows from the ETH ETF.
What was the figure for Bitcoin? Bitcoin was even worse. I think so I think ETH has dropped like 15 to 17% since the spot Ether ETF started, and I think Bitcoin dropped even more when the spot Bitcoin ETFs started, as there were outflows. And then after the outflows tapered off, it went up 90%. I think that's the figure, 90% in 50 days. So
what went up 90%? The
Bitcoin
price.
Yes,
the
price of Bitcoin. Yeah, after the Bitcoin outflows ceased.
So the big question is, will history repeat itself? Right? It would be great for Ethereum. I mean, any ETH bag holders would be finally able to celebrate after what's been a very long crab crawl for its market.
I'm just seeing
and
this.
ETH is just continuing. The ETH bros, at least on crypto Twitter, are just continually getting beaten up. I mean, just it feels like sentiment for them is at an all-time low. They just, it's so funny. I love it.
I just noticed. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, overall, I do still think the market's like, it's a down day, a couple down days, whatever. Like
Yeah, it's
overall,
just noise. It's
it's just
noise.
noise. I just zoom out. We were talking before the show that like I try not to look at the prices daily because it's too much psychological warfare where it does cause, I don't know, trepidation, and does make me question, what the heck am I doing? Why why do I hold this? This is insane. So if I don't look at it that often, I don't have to deal with the stress of that. Now that might be
Yeah,
kind of like lazy investing or foolish even, but just keeping a loose eye on it for me at least. I sleep better at night knowing that like
yeah,
for me, I'm looking at the price not on the daily chart, but more on the monthly or quarterly chart. And I mean, I don't know. I've been through enough of these cycles now where there is this long crab crawl before any potential breakout. And it's those long crab crawls and those occasional corrections during the crab crawls that cause people to be shaken out. And it sucks when you get shaken out, the fear and, you know, uncertainty and the doubt kicks in. And then you say, maybe I don't need this much. Maybe I don't need as much crypto as I thought. I'll just pull some out. And it just always happens to be that you do that. And then the next day it just rips and you're like, what happened? Why did I do that? So better to, at least for me, better to just not think about it.
yeah. So I just had that article up there, which is predicting that the price of ETH would be $23,549 by 2030. So there's a little hopium for you if you're an ETH bag
zoom
holder.
out. Zoom out 6 years. Easy. Easy.
All right. Let's move on to some of this political stuff with the Bitcoin 2024 conference. So we got to talk about this. All right. So I'm gonna obviously Trump spoke at the conference, and I'm gonna read through the key points that he mentioned. Please feel free to interrupt me as I read through these points if you have any hot takes. So number one, he said he's going to fire Gary Gensler on the first day. Gary Gensler, obviously the chair of the U.S. SEC, the Security Exchange Commission. He criticized Gensler's approach to cryptocurrency regulation, promising to appoint a new SEC chair who would be more supportive of the crypto industry.
I just want to start off by saying, love him or hate him, the guy's a showman, and you could see that in that clip where he says he's going to fire Gary Gensler because he's going along, and the crowd's kind of interacting with him a little bit, and then he says that line, and the crowd goes crazy, like and then he stops and he goes off script for like another minute. He's like, oh, I didn't know he was so unpopular, and then I mean, just classic
he feeds
Trump.
off of it.
He feeds off of it, and he can talk what's it called, extemporaneously, right? Whereas I think a lot of politicians would have just continued on with their little speech. He completely went off. He's like, "Oh, you like that? Well, let me say it again." So
he's great.
So yeah, I mean,
he's highly entertaining. Yeah.
Okay. Next point, obviously, is the strategic Bitcoin reserve was mentioned. Now, Trump vowed that the U.S. government would not sell its current Bitcoin holdings, and he proposed converting the approximately 210,000 BTC that's held by the U.S. government into a, quote, strategic national Bitcoin stockpile to benefit all Americans. We can talk a little bit more about that later, unless anyone has any hot takes on that right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting thing, right? There's two parts to this. There's the keeping the Bitcoin that we have, and then there's the buying more Bitcoin for this reserve. And I think I read in a news piece, our news piece, that that perhaps there was a little confusion in the legislation for buying Bitcoin, not just retaining it, was supposed to have been introduced before he went on, because immediately he got off immediately, and then some person ran on with a thing of paper saying, "I have the bill here." For
you're talking
for buying
about Senator Loomis's
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
proposed bill,
Yeah.
which
So
officially was introduced. It's the Bitcoin Act in the Senate, officially introduced
very creative
just
name.
now, basically. Bitcoin doesn't stand, it stands for, hold on, boosting innovation, technology, and competitiveness through optimized investment nationwide.
So I saw
Bitcoin.
some
And
interesting narratives around this, and I'd say the Trump announcement, Bitcoin 2024. There was, you know, the hardcore maximalists and the crypto bulls in general who see this as like, okay, well, if Bitcoin does well, alts do well, everything wins, right? Rising tides lift all boats. It's great for the market. And then there's the Bitcoin maximalists that are like, proof that this is better than gold. We did it, guys. We got the government is almost ready to come on board. We're this close. Keep going. And then you have this like other sect of the crypto universe of like the hardcore altruists, ideologues that are like, this is supposed to be crypto money, not government money. And now you guys are selling out to the government. Unbelievable. Look at you guys. You should be disgusted with yourselves trying to get the government involved in Bitcoin, using taxpayer dollars to buy Bitcoin. That's my money that you're buying Bitcoin with, which I thought was kind of entertaining, but also one of those potential like have fun staying poor moments.
yeah. Two things. So, okay, first of all, maybe we should talk about what this strategic reserve, what the point of it is supposed to be, right? Like it's supposed, from what I gather, it's supposed to be basically an investment. You buy Bitcoin now while it's ostensibly cheap, and then 20 years from now, you sell it to pay off the debt, right? So it's that's the idea here with this. I mean, it's a little bit confusing because it's not a strategic reserve in the sense like oil is, right? You use it, you draw down your oil supplies if your strategic oil reserve, like when there's a war or whatever, or if you need to win an election. But the Bitcoin strategy, I guess you could do that with Bitcoin, like, oh, let's sell some Bitcoin and give people some checks.
Well, this would be one point for the old, digital oil narrative of Ethereum. At least, it can be used as for something. I mean, right now, Bitcoin's not exactly the most useful thing for a government to hold. But in theory, if they were deploying smart contracts, it's like, hey, you guys got lots of ETH gunpowder for all the deployments you need.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also in a way, if you look at it cynically, it could also be kind of it gives the government an excuse to kind of debase the dollar, right? Because you could buy all this Bitcoin and you say, oh, but don't worry, we have something in our back pocket just in case our currency goes to shit. So
did you guys see there was an article that came out last night regarding China doubling down on its gold reserves?
Yeah.
So it does seem like there's still some governments that are playing that game as well. And it does make you wonder, how much are they also squirreling away in this digital gold stuff? I wonder if they would be as transparent about those types of bills, or, I don't think you're going to see anyone from the People's Party,
Yeah, I mean, there's probably data on this from the major blockchain, what's it called, like investigation companies or whatever. But as far as I know, the U.S. is the largest single holder of Bitcoin already, with those confiscated coins. So, I don't know. I personally think this is a decent idea, although, as Graham said, from the government's perspective, the purpose for it seems a little murky. But I do think it's like a decent hedge against debasement, and it'll support this growing sector. It's like a firm. It's a good way for the U.S. to kind of apologize for pushing out crypto from America, and then this is a very strong stance of saying, hey, we're embracing crypto, come back, innovate here. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential wins, I think, for doing something like this.
I would say just the realist in me does see this as kind of bullshit, where there's a strong chance that a lot of the folks in the Republican Party do not give a shit about this. I mean, in general, this could all just be a big, hey, let's drum up an extra 1% to 2% vote, get these crypto nerds involved, make them feel important. We'll toss it around Congress for a bit, think about it for 4 years, eventually turn it off. Too late, we already got their vote. Bunch of idiots. So
yeah,
there is that chance that they're just drumming up votes, and this is all bullshit. Like, there is a strong chance that maybe the Fed, IMF, all these other parties that kind of control some of the global monetary supply aren't going to be a big fan of the U.S. being like, hey, let's do this, because we saw what they did. Like, IMF put out some pretty harsh rules against El Salvador when they started accepting Bitcoin. This was also reported in Bitcoin.com news, like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. But when El Salvador was saying, hey, we're like all into this Bitcoin thing, IMF was coming down pretty hard on them. The whole International Monetary Fund. So I suspect the same thing would just happen to the US. And then, you potentially have these like problems where the banks are kind of threatening the US, saying, hey, what are you guys doing? We're going to like make it more of a pain in the ass to bank with the US if you guys go down this path, which they can do because most of the private banks can kind of like control the flow of funds.
I don't know. I would take the other side of that. I think America is by far and away the biggest swinging in the world, and as the reserve currency. But it's not the
government that actually owns the currency. That's the other thing that people often forget. They can influence it. But
but also there's a dollar shortage right now, and there has been for years. And the U.S. is the only place where legitimate dollars can be made. So I feel like it's just like if they do throw a tantrum or whatever, it's just that it's a tantrum, and the U.S. can be like, okay, what are you going to do? 70% of the world's 70% of all things settled in the world are settled in the dollar. It's something like close to 100% of all things, even if they're settled in other currencies, are priced in dollars. I mean, I don't know.
But then you got to think about I'm again just playing devil's advocate here. The war machine of the U.S. has not been stifled at all. It's still going on. You got Ukraine, Israel, all this nonsense, right? Lots of money flowing in between there. And a lot of parties probably want that money flowing through there. And if you've got this 1% of the voter base saying we want Bitcoin on the books, and then they've made a promise, or at least made an announcement, and then it's like, hey, well, if you actually do this is gonna like make it really difficult to get money to your best bros Israel or your best bros Ukraine, because the powers that be that control the flow of funds on the banks are going to make it a pain in the ass to deal with. I mean, then the only alternative there would be like the government's like, okay, well, no big deal. We'll just start sending Bitcoin to Israel. We'll start sending Bitcoin to Ukraine. Keep the flow of money going that way, which I guess they could do. But are they going to? I mean, like a change in process, change in actually using Bitcoin as currency in lieu of US dollar, which would be a terrible signal for the US dollar. It does make me just be like, I don't know if they're ever actually going to do this, but hey, cool that they announced it. Great for the market.
Well, no, I mean, I agree with you. I think this is, again, my base case when any politician does anything is that they don't care about it at all. Right? Mm-hmm. That's what I always think. So, I'll talk to my parents or my dad and be like, but the politicians don't believe that. I'm like, yeah, of course they don't. They don't. but that's the whole point, is that you kind of want to try to make them do things. So I agree with you that most likely this is not going to happen, right? But could happen.
It's enough of a bet that like someone wants
What
to
is
take the
the-
bet that it could happen. So
Well,
it's like,
they'll-
yeah,
So
I
what's,
mean,
what's the meme? So
eventually-
you're telling me there's a chance.
Right.
yeah.
So like this now it's in the conversation. It's been memed into existence, right?
Yeah.
And some people are like voting or may vote based on this issue, right? Now, eventually, if they don't do it, they're gonna get voted out next time. So they may get the end result of this is they just may be forced to do this, like, because that's how democracy works. It's not
Did you
that
guys
they
see any of
actually
the?
wanted to, but that the voters kind of forced them to do it.
Yeah. Did you guys see any of the quotes from RFK during that same event, the Bitcoin 2024? I mean, he kind of went
Yeah,
a step further, right? Which I mean,
definitely.
I like, but he's also like got what 1% of the polls. So
No chance.
Yeah, he seemed like the real Bitcoiner.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can bring that up. RFK. So I have the details here. Just a sec.
Well, here's a question: why is he still in the race? Because surely he's spending a lot of people's money at this point. And polls
isn't he
aren't great.
vying for just a position in the whoever wins?
Maybe that's the play,
in
right?
there? Yeah.
I'm still surprised that. I mean, man, I was really, really hoping that Donald would have been like, "Let's do it," bring him in, VP,
Get RFK on the VP. Yeah, that would have been
that would have been the coolest thing ever. And then you would have had like two of the most hated people in the swamp. They could have gone after all the 3-letter agencies that are kind of like bloating. Yeah, it would have been great.
So just to note here, that RFK, who also spoke at the conference, proposed a strategic Bitcoin reserve of 4 million BTC, which is like 20% of the supply. And of course, actually a greater amount, because probably at least 10% of the Bitcoin supply is just gone, lost. And his quote is, "Our nation holds approximately 19% of global gold reserves. This policy will give us the same proportion of total Bitcoin. The cascading impact of these actions will eventually move Bitcoin to a valuation of hundreds of trillions of dollars." That's his quote.
Dude's a bull.
Pretty interesting. Yeah, it's bold. And he also, by the way, pledged to make Bitcoin transactions non-taxable. Now, I don't really know what that means. Does that mean that you don't have to pay capital gains tax on your Bitcoin? You wouldn't have to pay capital gains on your Bitcoin winnings? But here's his quote on that. He said, on day one as president, I will also sign an executive order directing the IRS to issue public guidelines that all transactions between Bitcoin and the US dollar are unreportable transactions and by extension non-taxable. So crazy stuff from RFK.
Did he mention anything about the Fed too? I think he was he saying he was going to end the Fed or just like do some shit with that?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but I also think he shouldn't end the Fed. I think it does have a role, just maybe a less outsized one. Yeah, I mean, to me, yeah. So Trump's speech was light on details, right? So it had that whiff of insincerity that Corbin was talking about, and RFK's went into a lot more detail, and it seemed way bolder, but because he had details, it did seem like maybe he's a little more serious about it. At least that was my take on that.
Yeah, it seems like Trump's team just had him hit the major points, right? And they briefed him, here's the points you got to hit. And so on that note, let's just go through the other points that he hit. So we already mentioned fire Gary Gensler, the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Another point was to commute Ross Ulbricht's sentence. He discussed stablecoins. So he emphasized that stablecoins could play a significant role in maintaining and enhancing the dominance of the US dollar in the global financial system. And he also talked about bringing in or developing a crypto and Bitcoin advisory council tasked with creating a clear and fair regulatory guidelines for the industry, and composed of individuals who support and understand the crypto industry. And then he also mentioned his anti-CBDC, central bank digital currency stance, suggesting that such a thing would undermine the values and principles of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. So hit all the major key talking points that Bitcoiners talk about. But yeah, as you mentioned, didn't sound necessarily sincere.
He does have David Bailey probably advising him, so it might just be Trump's style, right? He usually isn't so heavy on details. I think he probably personally asks that the details are kind of not included because it probably sounds a little boring, and he's not that interested in that. So again, hard to judge, but yeah, I don't know. What would you guys put at the odds of? Let's imagine Trump gets elected, and what are the odds you think of this actually coming to fruition in any reasonable shape or form? A strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Well, not high. I mean, even just not selling the Bitcoin that
okay,
is
yeah,
held,
let's start with that. Let's start with that.
Even that is a stretch because, first of
you
all,
think so?
it's not really the US's Bitcoin. First of all, it's like
it's like Bitfinex, right?
Bitfinex, like exactly.
I think like 80, some ridiculous percentage is Bitfinex's.
Yeah,
but they're shady. They're shady. I don't know if they're going to ever get their coins back.
Yeah, I mean, well, that needs to be resolved. What do we have here?
Hello, Bitcoiners. Thank you very much. I will fire Gary Gensler. Never sell your Bitcoin.
So I think Jadude00 on TikTok kind of says it really well. I don't think it matters. It's like if people are having fun with it, if they can trade it, great. If it actually happens, great. But regardless, it'll be enjoyable to watch the TikTok investors decide on whether it's good or bad. Yeah.
Can we do a live stream next time when major events like that happens and attempt to emulate this?
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
That was awesome.
That would be fun.
We're gonna need some more Koreans with energy because I think we're all a little bit too like we've just got years of crypto bears on our shoulders. She's got so much hope and belief in crypto and excitement and money on the line. We're just like whatever.
Inhibition, yeah.
Yeah, we just need some of that Zoomer Adderall David was talking about.
Yeah. If we were added up, I'm sure we could dial it in.
All right. So I think that's the one other thing about the Bitcoin conference, which goes to some of the points that we've discussed, is that Edward Snowden also spoke at the conference. Edward Snowden, of course, the former CIA and NSA contractor and renowned whistleblower, who, by the way, and I checked this morning because I lose track. He's still in hiding in Russia, by the way, after all these years. Anyway, he spoke at the conference by video, and he basically put a big wet blanket over all the rah-rah, like politicians are going to pump our Bitcoin and crypto bags sentiment. He said, his quote is, cast a vote, but don't join a cult.
I wonder if his voice would have been a little different, though, had Trump come out saying, like, free Edward as well as free Ross. You know, you know, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I love what they're doing. Let me get out of here, man. I hate Russia. I'm sick of bored."
He has to throw away his speech and kind of wing it.
Yeah.
Nah.
But he also went into the privacy concerns about Bitcoin. He said, quote, "They know what you read, what you buy, who you send Bitcoin to, who you support politically, like where your donations went. All of that is available to them, and they can infer your thinking. They can infer your affiliations. So, yeah, basically, don't trust
Bitcoin
this.
is the CBDC.
Oh,
yes.
There we go. He's probably just upset that he's still in the hinterlands of Russia.
Yeah. No, it's gotta be a tough life.
Yeah. But I mean, it's good to have wet blankets like that. Especially, I've heard I haven't heard anything bad about this conference this year, but I've heard in the past it can get a little crazy in terms of the hype versus the reality. So
you don't want to be at a conference when it's pico hype. It's off-putting. It's like it leaves a weird taste in your mouth, and you feel dirty, and everyone's extremely excited, and nobody's bearish, and people that are into crypto that probably shouldn't be into crypto, maybe don't have the money to afford if it pops or if it corrects in a short period of time. It's a weird feeling when everyone around you is hyper bullish. It's like the biggest indicator that like it's too hot. What are we doing? What's going on? But the crazy thing is that manic state can last quite a while where, yeah, part of you wants to ride it out with them. But that's also like a suicide mission, you know? Don't round trip your bags. If you've ever done it, it sucks.
Yep. All right. So I think we've pretty much covered the main points here of the Bitcoin 2024 conference and the political machinations around it. So shall we move on to another token narrative, another topic?
Well, because we've been talking about politics, I think we could linger on it a little more just and open it up. Like the Democrats, I get the impression that they're scrambling now to try to have a pro-crypto message. And people like Elizabeth Warren have been kind of pushed to the side and shushed because I think the Dems are realizing that they don't want this to be a wedge issue. They don't want this to be the difference between winning and losing. And so, again, I nothing substantial or substantiated, but just rumors that Kamala and the other leaders of the Democratic Party are trying to come up with a pro-crypto platform. So yeah,
it seems obvious. I mean, it seems it's suicidal if they don't. So expect that coming soon.
The thing is, though, is all these crypto people, and not just like people like you and me, but like the people who have been in politics for the past couple years, really trying to push pro crypto agendas, putting money into PACs and everything, your Coinbases and your Ryan Selkuses and stuff like that. They have been kind of disrespected massively, right, for the past couple of years by the Dems and vilified openly, right? And now these same Dems are coming back to them like, oh, can you consult with us on pro crypto platform? And I've heard, I guess again, all rumor and hearsay, but on crypto Twitter they're like, no, go F yourself. What are you talking about? Absolutely not. Not going to deal with you.
No.
So
I think the real danger here, right, is that this is probably what you were going to continue on with, right? But the real danger is that the Dems, like for crypto, that the Dems win, and that no one on the crypto side reached out to them and they win, and it's right back to like even worse than
win. Yeah, because they always win, right? They're not just like putting in more immigrant votes into the system. Win, mail-in ballots. Win. Yeah. Because I'm sure they got a good chance of winning with her like measly 30% polls on poly markets. But like, CNN still got it neck and neck at 50% because there's a chance she might win. It's all such bullshit. But like, yeah, okay. I mean, if the Dems get in at this point, like if the vote were to happen today and the Dems got in, it's civil war, man. It's total civil war. Nobody's gonna buy this. But they got 3 months to kind of juke the stats, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, exactly, Graham. You gotta. I mean, Coinbase will be fine, but I think Ryan Selkis. I saw a tweet thread this morning from him, and he's been a fairly major player in the behind the scenes in crypto's political relationships. And he basically declared civil war on the Dems in a thread. He was like, look, this is me paraphrasing. It was basically like, look, if I had a drink with Kamala, it would be, we'd get along. It'd be great. However, she's an existential threat to America, and here are the reasons why. And so, yeah, you got to hope that cooler heads prevail, Graham. Your Coinbases.
Yep.
You got to hedge. You got to hedge just in case. So you don't want them to turn around and be as petty if the Dems win. They're like, well, you didn't want to engage with us.
Exactly.
We're doing Gary Gensler times 10.
It's Game of Thrones.
I'm actually on the other side. I'm on like full accelerationism, where I don't think you should just if the Dems win, burn it to the ground. You got to start over. It's clearly a failed system. Let's go. But that's
you need to.
I'm a little bit more.
We need
extreme.
to get Ryan Selkis on here. We need to get Ryan Selkis on here. Him and
find
Corbin.
A receptive audience. Yeah.
I really like him. I like his. I like his vibes. He gets on his IPA rants. I like it. I respect it.
All right. Good stuff. So, all right, we got 20 minutes left. Do you want to talk about one of these other topics, or do you want to go to our show and tell?
We could just briefly. We can have a brief discussion on this. Just in terms of token narratives. What are you guys feeling about the token narratives recently? I just start with high level stuff. I was saying in the pre-show talk that I've been a little underwhelmed with the big crypto narratives of late. And meme coins, I feel like that kind of narrative is flagging a bit. And then you have at least in my estimation, the other two big ones would be Deepin and RWAs. But again, those seem, I don't know, it just doesn't seem as sexy, or it doesn't seem like it's kind of grabbing people's attention. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah. I feel that I feel exhausted by these, like, what would you call them? Yeah, these narratives. Like, okay, we're going to do Deepin, but then you go look at the, you dig into the project, right? And it's so hard to tell what is real with it. It's so hard
because
to tell.
we've been bitten so many times. I remember 2017, right, at the height of that mania, there was tons of Deepin projects before it had a moniker.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was all vaporware. And there were Deepin projects in the previous cycle, 21, 22. But again, it's still too early,
Yeah.
I think like everyone wants narratives, but I think if you just get back to like the basics, you don't need a new narrative every cycle. It's fine. Like there was for the first few cycles, there wasn't really narratives except for just hey, this new Bitcoin thing, this new crypto thing. Oh, maybe eventually you got like a smart contract narrative. That was cool. And then there was like an ICO narrative and these things. But think early on it was very much just like, what are we doing here? Oh yeah, we're just trying to like make better money. You know, I think that's fine. It's a fine enough narrative. It's one of many.
Yeah.
I think if
You know,
you get back to basics, it's kind of nothing's changed. It's just like there's a lot of stuff that comes and goes, and I guess you can trade that, and there's potential for short-term gains in those types of like micro bubbles within the larger bubble. But I think overall, if you're in it for the long haul, you just kind of keep on accumulating, stacking.
yeah. I expect that one of these projects, in whether it's the DeepIn space or the RWA space or Web3 gaming, one of them is just one day going to come out of nowhere and it's going to really have actual real traction. And I will have missed it because I didn't pay close enough attention.
I guarantee I'll miss
it. Oh yeah,
I
saw that. I saw that one. I saw that one 6 months ago. It was all over Twitter. But I ignored it because there's 100 others just like it that are like full of shit. Really,
that happened to me last cycle. Exactly that. That's what I was going to go with next, Graham. Last cycle, the L2 narrative was cooking for a long time, right? And then it caught fire, and there was just this blast of L2s. I don't know if you remember it, right? The rotations between like Avalanche and Phantom.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And even Polygon, they all popped huge, bigly.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed most of it.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to say is I think this exhaustion is basically because the price isn't going up on these sectors, right? We don't have
they get bored. People look for like other things to trade because they're like, things aren't moving. What can I do with my money instead? Yeah.
And what we'll see is, I think we'll see like the real projects in these in DeepIn and RWA will kind of start to outperform because insiders, people who are paying close attention, kind of find the ones that are legit, and then they're the ones who like 10x, 50x, 100x, and everyone else gets like a measly 1x. Ugh.
Isn't that so funny that people are just like disgusted by like, oh, you only made like 1.5x?
Yeah,
exactly.
Only doubled my money.
Yeah, you beat the bank,
disgusting.
man. Like you did good. You had a good year.
Yeah. When people are like, oh, the Bitcoin's going to peak this cycle at 150, I'm like, oh, it's only barely
boomer
2x
coin.
from here.
God.
Yeah. I'll forever
give that boomer coin some Viagra, please. But I just wanted to say one thing. Like I do think that there are like I've been doing some interviews and talking to people in real life, and there does seem to be like a lot of movement and real projects in these spaces. And I think I've talked to a couple people who have real stuff in them, and so I would advise against feeling that exhaustion, even though I do feel it, and keep grinding because I imagine DeepIn and RWAs will pop pretty big at some point.
What are the projects I should check out that are in DeepIn or in RWAs? What are the things you're getting a sniff on those?
Yeah, I mean, I think for DeepIn, probably the number one thing, and this is kind of like a cross between DeepIn and AI, would be BitTensor, which I think you're already a bag holder, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but that seems to be one of the most legit ones that probably will have, like, if the bull cycle mania. Again, this is not financial advice and blah 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 blah, all that kind of stuff, but that seems like it's just waiting to go. I think storage, right? Storage networks probably will have an outperformance. So there's a couple coins that are focused on that. Don't want to drop any names, but I imagine one or two of those will pop. And
I bought storage, like STORJ, in 2017.
Okay.
And I think it probably
and you're crypto rich.
Yeah, hold on. I think what actually happened with it I lost 90%, and then it like I stopped paying attention. I was like, maybe that'll come back, and I don't know if this is actually what happened, but I wouldn't be surprised. They switched to like from an ERC20 token or something to their own chain, and I had like 2 weeks to like do the thing that I had to do. And then, when I finally saw storage increase in price again, like 2 years later, I missed my window. Oh, funny how that works.
Do you guys remember Golem? I'm just
Brutal.
remembering. I had Golem
course,
back
yeah.
in the days, and it was like I had to Google it because I was like, what the hell was it again? It's a decentralized platform where everyone can use and share each other's computing power without relying on centralized entities like cloud computing corporations. Which sounded cool. Are they still around? Like, it seems like they still have a website. It seems like they're trading. But it is interesting that like that was a strong narrative in 2017, I think it was 2016, 2017 maybe, where everyone was like, yeah, decentralized compute. It is funny though that we've kind of come back to that in some ways, but now with this AI compute. Yeah. What's old is new again.
So
Yep.
And then
I'm going to do one shout out to just a Japanese project that, again, I haven't invested or bought anything, but I think this kind of stuff has like real legit use, and it's by a guy who has a like strong background and experience in like he was an executive at Medukari. He worked for Disney, Japanese guy, and sold his company and now has his own project. Unikura,
by the way, is hold on. Medukari, by the way, is like Japanese eBay.
Yeah, it's Japan's most successful startup, I think, in like a decade or two, right? So I mean, and it's good. I use Medukari. It's a little more streamlined than eBay, and I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Do people still use eBay? Is that a thing? That seems like a boomer.
I do.
Yeah,
I do a little bit.
What are you guys trading there? Like Pokemon cards? What's the go-to there? You can't deal anything fun. There's no drugs or anything there. All the firearms are off, right? What do you buy there? Like old computer parts?
I'm going to out myself as a super nerd. I buy Magic cards sometimes.
Oh,
Magic the Gathering
what a geek! Geek alert!
Car parts.
That makes sense.
Oh, nice.
Magic school, man.
Yeah. But he's got a new company, Unikura. Yeah, I did an interview. Unikura. It's on our website, and I think, I mean, it's an RWA thing, which is not like the boring RWA stuff, which is like sovereign bonds, all that kind of stuff. Which obviously it's an easy use case, and there's so many successful projects on that. But it's doing RWA for real world items in a realistic, really good way, where they're like they have contracts with like art warehouse, like tier 1 art warehouse holders, so to like hold the actual items, and then they issue NFTs of those. So really, really cool stuff, high end for now, which is where, obviously you should start. So for example, you could buy a legit piece of artwork, and instead of holding it in your crappy little Japanese, 3LDK, you send it to this
3LDK. Whoa, rich guy.
That's huge.
Oh my god. Settle down.
You send your Monet or your Picasso, your whatever, to these like Fort Knox warehouses that guarantee it, and then they hold it, and then you get an NFT issued with like a high resolution image of it or whatnot, and then you could sell it. And if you want to redeem it, you can burn the NFT, and they'll ship it all over the world. Part of the process of this is that they have experts go verify that it's real, right? So this is a huge issue in the collectibles world. Again, I'm a Magic card collector, so it's a huge problem, right? Huge problem. So this kind of thing to me is awesome, and it has a real use case. Rich people and their rich trinkets.
I mean, personally, I love this idea for real world assets where you can unlock the underlying value from the collateral, and then using that NFT, put it out for a lend or a borrow, and then use that to access. Yeah, like if you had a $20,000 Rolex and you're just some baller and you're like, I never friggin' wear this thing. Maybe I should just get the NFT of it, lend it out, and then I can access maybe like, I don't know, from 20K, you could probably easily get a decent loan on that from someone and be able to access like 8 to 10K of the value. And then if you don't pay back the loan, the NFT guy just can be like, all right, you didn't pay it back. I'm going to just take your Rolex. And it's pawn shop wars, man. It's great.
Yeah. and it's because it's this platform. It's in third parties' hands, so like it gets through this like trust layer where it really is hard to game it and kind of lose money. And yeah, I 100% agree. So yeah, this kind of thing. And then yeah, you can even trade different Rolexes. So you could buy a Rolex if you can check that this NFT is legit. You can be like, you know what, I'm going to buy a Rolex through this site because I don't have to deal with the verification myself because they've already spent time and money verifying it. It's in a secure warehouse, and they'll ship to me anywhere in the world. So this kind of thing, I think, has a lot of potential, and it's run by a guy who has tons of experience in this field in Web 2. So anyway, I think
I'm going to pull up the Unikura website. So this is it basically, right? So you can go in and find your, rare Pokemon cards, ancient samurai I don't know, this costumes is like legit ancient samurai stuff for 16K. And then it's been turned into an NFT, which you can then purchase. And then in theory, you could actually access that underlying asset that's vaulted somewhere. I've seen a couple others.
Yeah, they have partners.
Yeah.
They have partners. They partnered with some lending protocols.
Yeah. And then there's this 4K, which I was playing around with a little while ago as well, which I think is quite cool as well. It was the first time I saw this idea of like turning a real world asset into an on-chain NFT. And they do something with like Brinks vaults where they'll also get the card graded or the watch graded and make sure it's legit. And then they provide the approximate value or something like that. So then that kind of determines like the kind of NFT price. And then, yeah, in theory from there, this is where you'd get that 4K, you'd get this NFT that's issued from your watch or your baseball card or whatever. And then if you were a degenerate and you're like, man, I want that. I just need some cash. I don't want to sell the asset. I just want to like lend it out as collateral. Then you go to something like arcade.xyz or some of these other NFT lending protocols. And then you basically put up the NFT for collateral and then see if someone wants to give you a loan for it. And then if you don't pay the loan, they get the collateral, which is potentially the baseball card or the Rolex or whatever. But yeah, there's lots of cool stuff happening in this space. I think this is the coolest stuff ever for like, I don't know, if you're just like a weird collector, which there's a lot of people that just, they got old guitars, they got Magic cards, they got Pokemon cards. Maybe they still do NFTs. They got monkey JPEGs, and they're like, I don't need the monkey JPEG, but I could use it as collateral to get a little bit of stable coins to pay some bills right now. I think it'd be cool. Yeah.
When I get crypto rich, I'm going to buy a bunch of alpha Magic cards that have been graded, and I'm going to put some of them on sites like that.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
I don't trust having much valuable near me, kids and just life. I'd rather someone else deal with the valuable thing, and then if you mess up, then I can come after you. But like, don't trust me with valuable things. I break everything. I can't own expensive glasses because I break every pair of sunglasses I have. I sit on them, I step on them, I leave them somewhere and they get scratched. So yeah, I can't have that. But I like the idea of just vaulting assets. Give me the NFT. I got proof that I own it. It's got some value.
Yeah,
still.
Exactly. Yeah. And also you get that verification with it too, which is so important, right? Like, yeah, great.
Well, in theory too, you could actually use this as an opportunity to scoop up some valuable assets on the cheap, where you're like, okay,
that's right.
I'm gonna go look on one of these lending sites for someone who's putting up their Rolex watch as collateral, and you're like, all right, I could lend you, 40% on the value there, sure. And I just, you're taking a bet that they don't pay the bill, so you can get a watch on the cheap, and then you can just go flip it, right? It's kind of dope. It's like it's total. It's like Pawn Shop Wars, like those TLC shows. You're just like one of those degenerate boomers, like trading old boxing gloves or whatever.
All right. Now my question is, how does the Unikura token or the token of any of these platforms, how is it a good investment?
Does Unikura have a token? I don't even know. I interviewed the guy, and we just spent the whole time geeking out on the details of like, how does he do verification, setting up a verification network, what warehouses does he like contract with, Because a lot of it is like vaporware. You hear about this in a YouTube video, and then there's nothing behind it. But I wanted to dig in with this guy. So is there even a token?
I'm not digging around on their website. I'm not seeing anything. So
they might release one later, but I think for right now they're just imagine that they're focused on making a real product.
They're just making a real business.
What a
not gonna make it.
What a surprise! Not gonna make it, dude.
They're worrying about revenue, in this VC funded crypto world.
Nerd
pre-revenue,
losers.
guys. Pre-revenue.
Exactly.
All right. So we're coming to the end of this week's episode. Last chance for you guys to bring something in.
I put 2 in for the show and tell, and I think the first one is a banger. I love it.
All right, I'll bring. You want to bring it up? I got it.
If you can, that would be nice.
This one?
Yeah. Could you make the picture? Could you focus on the picture? So have you guys seen this graph before? It's from like a couple years ago, and then I think recently, this past week, they updated the graph. So I mean, this is a real graph.
God.
Obviously the straight line is not real, but this is a real graph.
The title is
on. Go ahead.
Demographics of long-term antidepressants, and the subtitle is older white women account for 58% of adults who have used antidepressants for at least 5 years. And then there's several lines on the chart of different cohorts of women, with older white women being the most, having the highest propensity to use antidepressants.
This isn't a sexist thing. There's a man in there.
Oh, there are minor.
It's just much
white
lower.
men.
Much lower.
Oh, whoa, yeah. I mean, white men are number 2 though, behind, but at half the rate. So, and then finally, getting to the joke, David, I'll let you.
Yeah. So the joke is they added a line that's even higher than white women, which is quite high, and it says ETH ETF buyers. Again, poking fun at ETH holders and the ETH ecosystem, while the what's it called, spot ETH ETF outflows happened this week. So again, I just think it's hilarious on 2 levels. Number one, it's an update from this thing making kind of poking fun at white women, and then adding ETH holders on top of that is just beautiful.
Yeah, you are a connoisseur.
Women become a meme?
They have, yeah. Probably too much at this point, but this one's still makes me laugh. I think
it's still banging.
Cat ladies. It's like cat ladies.
I wonder if there are any white women listening to this podcast right now.
Not a chance. Not a chance. Well, there is half of one, I know. Okay.
All right.
It's a producer.
All right. Settle down.
She's going to come choke you. She's going to
kill me.
Crawl through the screen. Choke you out.
What's this?
Okay, this is more of a. I thought this was pretty funny. So I've been to a couple conferences recently, and I haven't been to conferences really before, so this is all new to me. And we don't have to play the whole thing because it's quite long. But a lot of this has rings true for me in the couple conferences I've been to. I think, yeah. So maybe 2 inside if you haven't been to conferences or whatnot, but. A lot of this feels like it's pretty funny.
Getting no audio.
Yeah, I was hoping that you would explain what's happening while the video is playing, and that's why I didn't put the audio. Yeah.
Okay,
but
I see.
Could you just what's the gist of this?
It's just talking about like several issues that have been happening with conferences this past year, apparently. So, for example, people attending the conference, when you go out on the floor, there's no people attending, right? Like retail, it's all speakers and panelists and booth people who have booths. So So you talk to somebody and you're like, oh, so why are you attending this event? And it's like, oh, I run the booth over there, or I'm on a panel. And, it's basically businesses talking to businesses, and there's no one else. And then there's another segment on what audiences want to hear, right? They don't really want to hear about the tech and the details and the things that make a product real. They want to know about the token and the token price and the airdrop allocation. And so some of the maybe you saw some of the pictures from a couple weeks ago. There's pictures going around of two reasonably prominent, I think L1s or L2s, having a meeting or having a conference, a speech, and the whole audience is empty. I don't know if you see that, and people were like, "Oh, damn," because they were probably talking about tech details. They're kind of established projects. They're not giving out a token. They're not airdropping, and so the attendance to that particular talk was poor.
Do you think that's all tied to just economic woes of just everyone's getting wrecked, so they're just looking for a way to just double their money? Everyone's taking these high risk bets, given that everything sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a couple things. I think, again, you want to be careful about like, oh, we're early in the cycle and da 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 da. But it does kind of feel like, well, I mean, retail just isn't here yet, right? And so when you go to when at these conferences, you just have a lot of people who are in the industry and they're excited because they're in it. I felt well. One other funny thing though, Corbin, about this little video.
Hold on, David. Can I just say one thing?
Go ahead.
If you go to an air conditioner conference, it's not going to be air conditioner consumers at the conference, right? It's going to be the industry players in the air conditioning industry. So, I mean, why would it be any different for crypto?
Because it's trying to reach, because air conditioners already have like saturated market share, right? They're not trying to reach people who don't have air conditioners to be their customers. Crypto is desperately trying to reach people, normal people, and like, hey, this is something you need in your life. Let me show you why.
Yeah, but that's not the function of a conference.
I would say like one thing that
the industry leaders discuss, right?
One thing that I always found kind of weird is that like there's this expectation from a lot of crypto attendees or even like crypto companies that are attending conferences that they're like, this is where we're going to get our users. And like for sure there are some, there's a lot of crypto users there. There's a lot of people within the industry there. There are some attendees for sure that are just like crypto curious people that are paying some money to come check it out. But by and large, I think the users you acquire are typically not the ones that are paying $200 to $2,000 for a ticket to learn about crypto. They're just going to spend $200 to $2,000 on crypto to learn about crypto. Like, I think there's more value on the online non-conference consumer than there is on trying to like hit attendees with like, you're going to be my user now, because everyone's so saturated. Everyone's like, anyone at a conference probably has like 3 or 4 different wallet apps on their phone. They probably have 2 or 3 different exchanges. They're probably like holding bags across all sorts of different crypto, and they're just kind of there to see what the latest is. Where's the trend? Where should I move my money? Who's hiring? What's happening in this space that's kind of interesting and fun? What are the cool debates I should check out? And that's kind of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys both on both of those points, but I think it depends on the conference itself. A forthcoming interview that's coming out. In a forthcoming interview, I talked with a guy who's been in Web 2 stuff for like 20, 30 years, and he's put together conferences in Web 2 in like California and that whole scene. And he had a lot of things to say about EdCon. I don't know if you've seen some of the pictures, but they had this giant, like, what do you call them? Like blow up balloon things that filled the stadium.
In front of, they have in front of like car washes and
Yeah. But these were much bigger, like 4 meters tall, 4 meters tall, and they were like they were animals and slides. There was a slide that went down into a giant bowl of ramen, right? And the bowl is 5 meters wide diameter. Anyway, so
Actual
it
ramen?
was
A real ramen?
the ramen was
Also
inflated.
inflatable?
Yep,
Inflatable
yep,
ramen?
the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, like little
Yeah,
pieces of
but not real
inflatable
ramen.
tube
Yeah,
band.
that would have been
Yeah.
awesome. But anyway, so it looked like they were trying to. This was made for, and nobody was down there, right? Nobody was in there. Nobody was messing with that because it was all people like me and business people. But they definitely were trying to reach,
Seems
normal
like a
people.
mismatch.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it was a mismatch, and it was mismatched in many things. But one of the biggest one was in how they advertised it to the local populace, because it was free.
Yeah.
EdCon was free for people. You didn't have to pay.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it would have anyway. Yeah, so it was a missed opportunity in that respect.
Yeah.
But Corbin, one last thing from this video that I think you would appreciate maybe is they showed a panel speech, right? Panel talk, and everyone was agreeing with each other and like rephrasing the same thing. Like,
I hate that.
RWAs are great, and then another guy was like, I think world assets that are real are very good. And the other guy was like, yes, and you know what else? It's good that we tokenize assets and put them on the blockchain, right? And that was the panel.
I just love coming
Corbin,
in as a heel. Anytime I get an opportunity where I'm like, you guys are all agreeing with each other. You know what? I hate that what you guys like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I thought of you when I heard that.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Corbin's going to be speaking at a panel in Toronto in a few weeks. So looking forward to being as controversial as possible there.
Well, if there's too much circle jerking, I'm likely just gonna call them out, or be a little bit questionable over everyone's hype or hopium.
All right, let's wrap it up, guys. But one last thing to mention before we go is that you two, as well as a few other people from Bitcoin.com, are going to be at a conference, the Asia Blockchain Summit.
In my head, I heard U2 like the band, not like U2.
Yeah, me too. I was like, what?
I was like, we got U2 doing? What's U2 doing?
U2.
They're doing crypto stuff now? Oh, God.
The two of yous.
Not Bono.
Y'all are going to be at a conference August 6th to 8th in
next week.
Taipei. Yeah. The Asia Blockchain Summit,
ABS.
which is ABS, one of the most, not anti-lock braking system. Asia Blockchain Summit, one of the most iconic blockchain summits in the world. And their slogan this year is accelerating blockchain adoption one summit at a time. There's going to be about 10,000 attendees from 65 countries, 300 speakers, including Vitalik, His Excellency Justin Sun, and some guy called Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Who's that?
And others. Yeah, I don't know. Is that Spider-Man? I don't know.
He's a movie guy, right?
He was Robin.
Yeah.
He was Robin, I think, in one of the Batman movies.
He was Batman and Robin?
Yeah.
No.
Wasn't he in
Tickets
that
are still
one?
available for the conference, so we'll leave a link in the description.
I gotta wait.
Also, I have to say there are some spicy guests, like was it Suzu is going to be there? Apparently,
Suzu's going to be there.
Yeah, dude, Suzu's going to be there. Also, like via video, the Milady Makers founder Charlotte Fang is going to be speaking.
Charlotte Fang's going to be there.
I can't wait to hear that. I can't wait to hear. He's not going to. He's not going to be there. It's on
Speaking,
video, right? Yeah, speaking because he wants to stay anon. But yeah, so I'm pretty curious to hear those two. And if you see me, for the 5 people watching this, if you see me and you're there, come up and talk to me. If you're not weird, I mean,
he was
I'm pretty
Edward
weird,
Snowden in Snowden.
Oh, that's right, he was.
Okay, cool.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Brings things full circle.
Should be fun.
Yeah. It seems like he is a crypto advocate.
Is he?
I had a quick look on the Twitter. Yeah. So
I like when famous people like crypto. You know?
Yeah, and he doesn't have his own meme coin, so respect.
Yet.
Yet.
Yeah,
He's
we're
going to
gonna help
announce
him
it.
with that. Us three.
He's going to announce
we're
it at
gonna launch.
ABS.
Yeah, Gordo.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening, and thank you, gentlemen, for another good discussion. We'll see you all next week on Token Narratives. Adios.
See you guys.